I think it was Friday last week. There was a Sky article where they were talking about Joseph Parker's next fight, and they were saying that the WBO essentially were given the green light to him versus Chisora in a trilogy fight. Now, I speak for most people when I say I get it, but I don't want to see it. I get why you'd want the trilogy fight. Chisora is ranked by the WBO. He's ranked highly, well, number 7, which is reasonably high. Out of the names that were in the rankings, with the exception of Anthony Joshua, who is out of action until, well, probably the end of the year, it's a fight that is reasonably low risk and, well, high reward in terms of financial incentives. Yes, 110%. So I get it. It's not to say I necessarily want to see it, but I get it. Well, Sky now have another article about this, and it says, and I follow, David Allen versus Joseph Parker, British heavyweight considering fight against former world champion. The White Rhino Dave Allen has been contacted about a potential fight against former world champion Joseph Parker. The New Zealander is set to return in September after wins over Martin Bakole, Zhilei Zhang and Deontay Wilder. The Doncaster boxer confirmed to Sky Sports that he's been asked whether he will be interested in facing the New Zealander, who reigned as WBO champion from 2016 to 2018. Allen is considering his options after an impressive 5th round knockout win over Johnny Fisher in their rematch in May. Fisher claimed a controversial win. We don't need to talk about that because we already know about it. He will be making a sizable step up. Allen will be making a sizable step up in class against Parker, who is set to return in September. A potential British title fight with Jamie TKV, who lost in controversial fashion, very controversial, to David Alaya last April, remains another option. Parker holds the interim WBO title, and there is a question mark over whether he would be allowed to make a defense of his belt against Allen, who is currently not in the WBO rankings, although Fisher is inside the top 15. Derek Chisora, who is ranked number 7 by the WBO, has been named as another potential opponent, but for Joseph Parker. The Kiwi has been installed as WBO mandatory for the winner of Alexander Usyk, winner of Alexander's undisputed heavyweight title fight against Daniel Dubois at Wembley Stadium. Queensbury Promotions, who represent Parker, declined to comment when contacted by Sky Sports. They're absolutely correct. Now, I'm looking at box.live, right? And yes, they're absolutely correct. 2 fighters who dropped out of the rankings, this has dropped out this month, the month of June, are Justice Hooney and Fabio Wardley. Now, Hooney, why he's dropped out, I guess because he lost to Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley has dropped out because he's now interim champion with the WBO, and even interim champions are not ranked by different sanctioning bodies. So that makes perfect sense. Johnny Fisher is, however, ranked number 13. That is absolutely correct. Lucky number 13, unlucky for some. Now, if I go on the WBO's official website, I want to see that they have updated rankings, because I do find that somewhat strange, to be honest with you, that they'd still have Fisher ranked. You would imagine, because they're essentially obviously saying that, oh, you can't be ranked because of this, that, and the other. Well, actually, if you go on to, that's the WBA rankings, yeah, if you look at them all, they all have Johnny Fisher ranked number 13 in the WBO rankings. That could be just an oversight on the WBO's part, because you would imagine Dave Allen, given the fact he beat Johnny Fisher twice, although officially only once, you would imagine he'd be going in there at number 13. And if he did go in at number 13, unlucky for some, therefore, there would be, you would imagine, no problem with him getting a crack at Joseph Parker's interim title, because he's inside the top 15, ranked by the WBO, title on the line, well, interim title for what it's worth. So you would imagine there'd be absolutely no problem. So it's a real case of, what would you guys rather see if you think about it? Is a Chisora trilogy fight bigger than a Dave Allen fight? In my opinion, yes. Are they both fairly straightforward wins for Joseph Parker? Well, in my opinion, yeah. I mean, we remember Dave Allen beat Johnny Fisher. Did any of us really rank Johnny Fisher that highly? I certainly didn't. It amazed me when people were acting like Moses Atelma versus Fisher was a competitive fight. I was like, what on earth? That's not a competitive fight at all. And you forget that Dave Allen only a year or so ago, 18 months ago, was getting stopped in the corner by Fraser Clark. Fraser flipping Clark, of all people, no disrespect to him, but Fraser Clark himself knows he's not going to really set the world alight. You know, British, European, thereabouts. I think for Dave Allen, it's the question of what would you rather? Would you rather the big payday against Joseph Parker? Because it probably would be a decent payday. I mean, it's in September. Would it be on a Riyadh season show? I'm not hearing of any Riyadh shows in September, but saying that I wasn't hearing of one in August until pretty much a few weeks before it was announced. Would he get well paid to fight Joseph Parker? Probably would. Would he get more money fighting Joseph Parker than Jamie TKV? Absolutely. But Dave Allen has also spoke about wanting to be British champion. And quite frankly, I think that his talent warrants at least a British title. You know, he's not a world beater. He never was. And he'll probably tell you that he's never going to be a world beater. But does his talent warrant at least a British title? I would say yeah, probably. Could I see him, Jamie TKV, being a winnable fight? We don't know how Jamie TKV is going to be following on from that knockout defeat to David Alaye. I would have picked David Alaye to beat him if they'd had another rematch or had a rematch. So we don't know what he's going to be like. Jamie TKV is blown hot and cold in the past as well. You need to remember that. He came in a very, very good shape against David Alaye, but I've seen him look terrible in fights prior to that. So it's a winnable fight. It's a very winnable fight for Dave Allen. Would he get paid the same amount of money? No. He wouldn't. A British title fight against TKV would not pay him what Joseph Parker was going to pay him. So the question is, if he is offered that fight, you know, what would he rather? Would he rather fight Jamie TKV, matchroom versus boxer, or would he rather go down the matchroom versus Queensbury Road and fight Joseph Parker? Much more dangerous fight. Wouldn't give him a prayer winning. Quite frankly, I wouldn't give Chisora a prayer of him winning anyway, of him winning either, and get the more money. And at least say, it's not a world title fight, but at least say you fought a world level fighter for the opportunity, if nothing else, because it will present you with an opportunity to challenge for a world title. And God forbid, let's just say Dave Allen actually fought Joseph Parker, and hypothetically, we can all talk about hypothetical scenarios, right? Say hypothetical something, he pulled it off. He landed that combination that he landed on Johnny Fisher, and he knocks Joseph Parker out. Not only is he in prime position to challenge the winner of Dubois versus Usyk, all right, but if one of them, say, vacates, my man's elevated to full champion. You know, an interim title is not something to turn your nose up at. It's a glorified mandatory, but, and I know some people don't like it because if you do get elevated, you're known as the email champ. You know, I think that was Boots Ennis, that was Devin Haney, but you get what I mean. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this Sky article. As I said, it could be just an oversight from the WBO that Johnny Fisher is still ranked there in the rankings and Dave Allen isn't, because as I said, if you look at the WBC, Allen is not ranked, nor, well, in the top 15 he's not ranked, nor is Johnny Fisher. Anthony Joshua is number 2 by the WBC. Like, he's ranked number 6 by the WBO, which I don't get, and number 5 by the IBF, which again I don't understand. It's only the one that has the worst rankings known to man, the WBA, are the only one that don't have Joshua ranked. Which, like, let's not get ranting about rankings, right? But Allen isn't ranked by the WBC. He's not ranked by the WBO, although I think that may change in a couple of weeks. Cody is ranked 15th by the IBF and 1 by the WBC. Like, honestly, some of these rankings are just, they're farcical. But he is ranked number 12 by the WBA, so I would expect he would get a similar ranking with the WBO. Therefore, he would be eligible to fight Joseph Parker. It's the long and the short of it. Just when I look at these rankings, I'm just like, what on earth is this? It's just crazy, some of the rankings. When you see them, you're like, I know a lot of people don't like BoxRec, and yeah, the rankings are a little bit all over the shop, but like, seriously, they're a lot more accurate than this. Like, I mean, like, whoa, these rankings are bizarre. Just they're so different. It's like, what? Wilder is still ranked by the WBC. He's ranked number 12. Like, Wilder, just before I finish, Deontay Wilder in the WBC rankings is ranked ahead of Derek Chisora. Wilder hasn't won a fight in nearly 3 years, and he's not won a meaningful fight in nearly 6. Chisora's just beaten Otto Valin and Joe Joyce. They're not world beaters, fair enough, but they're still wins. Seriously, what's going on here? Anyway, rant about the rankings over. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.